Here's the blunt truth. AI without strategy creates confusion. It can create duplicate tools, poor data practices, unmanaged risks, shadow AI, bias, compliance problems, wasted money, and false confidence. That is why AI literacy matters. It is not enough to know how to type a prompt. You need to know what kind of system you are working with. What is it good at? What it struggles with? And where human oversight is required. AI should support learning, not replace thinking. The human is the orchestration layer. Humans understand lived experiences. Humans understand which problems matter. Humans understand values, context, ethics, and consequences. AI may help generate options, but people still need to decide what should be done and why. If an AI tool gives you an answer that you need to know, you want to understand how it got there. Can the outcome be explained? Can it be tested? Can it be trusted? Speed is not only the metric, but if the output is wrong, biased, unexplainable, or misaligned with business goals, speed can sink the organization. Welcome to Rheminiscing. I am Dr. Tony Rhem, and this is where we explore artificial intelligence, past, present, and the possible. This podcast has been a labor of love. With all good things, it takes a village to make this podcast a reality. I want to first thank the team at Content Club Chicago, Flo, Jeremy, Ethan, and Joe. The Parazon Group, Yandrick Parazon and Laura Frederick Tompkins. Of course, my team at AJ Rim and Associates, David Spencer Hickman, Vicky Baptiste, and Annie Green. Tintac Graphics with Lou Donnelly. And the teams at Buzzsprout and Spotify for creators for their support in publishing and scheduling the podcast. Season 1 has been about clarity, not hype, not fear, not chasing every new tool that shows up in the marketplace. Clarity, AI literacy, digital literacy, knowledge strategy, governance, and the human judgment required to make this technology useful, responsible, and aligned with purpose. In this recap episode, I want to take you back through the journey we have been on together. We started with large language models, we explored generative AI, we walked through the history of AI from expert systems to today. We looked at the future of work. We talked about AI strategy. We examined how to work with tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude. We discussed AI in education, and we closed the season by looking at executive leadership, fractional executive, transparency testing, and accountability. So let's look back, connect the dots, and think about where we go next. When I launched Reminiscing, the purpose was straightforward. Help people understand AI in a practical and responsible way. I have been working at the intersection of artificial intelligence, knowledge management, information architecture, and enterprise systems for decades. I have seen AI move from rule-based systems and expert systems to neural networks, machine learning, generative AI, now agentic AI. The technology has changed, the stakes have changed, the speed has certainly changed, but the fundamentals have not disappeared. Your AI is still only as good as the data, the structure, the governance, human expertise, and the intent behind it. That became the operating theme for season 1. We were not just asking what can AI do, we were asking better questions. What problem or problems are we solving? What knowledge is being used? What are the risks? Who is accountable? How do we verify the output? How do we, humans and machines, work together without weakening human judgment? Those are the questions leaders, educators, knowledge workers, technologists, and everyday users need to ask right now. Episode 1, we began talking about what is intentional before people can use AI responsibly. They need to understand what these models are and what they are not. Large language models are trained on massive amounts of text. They identify patterns, they predict language, they generate responses that can feel conversational and intelligent, but they are not human experts. They do not have lived experiences. They do not automatically know what is true, current, complete, or appropriate for you personally or for your business. That is why AI literacy matters. It is not enough to know how to type a prompt. You need to know what kind of system you are working with. What is it good at? What it struggles with? And where human oversight is required. For organizations, this message was even stronger. If your information architecture is weak, if your content is fragmented, if your policies are unclear, if your data is untrusted, then AI will expose those weaknesses. It may even amplify them. So episode 1 established the foundation. AI literacy is not optional. It is the starting point for responsible adoption. Episode 2, generative AI and responsible creation, moves from language models to generative AI more broadly. Generative AI does not just analyze, it creates text, images, audio, video, code, designs, synthesizes data, and more. That creative power is why people are excited, but it's also why governance is necessary. When AI creates, we have to ask, what data did it learn from? Who owns the source material? Where artists, authors, or creators compensated or acknowledged? Could the output mislead people? Could it reinforce bias? Could it be used in ways that cause harm? This was a major point of that episode. Human creativity is not replaced by generative AI. Human judgment becomes more important. The tools can accelerate ideation and production, but humans still need to be able to evaluate the meaning, quality, ethics, and consequences of what is produced. That is why I said we have to build with intention. Responsible collaboration between humans and machines should elevate what we create, not simply automate more content into the world. In episode 3, AI history and the lessons, was my walk through sort of memory lane. We went from expert systems and rule-based logic into the AI world we are operating in today. In the early days, I built systems with explicit rules. If this happens, then we do this, and if that happens, we do that. We work with structured logic, decision trees, forward chaining, backward chaining. We use Lisp and Prolog and knowledge bases. The systems were more limited, but the discipline was clear. You had to understand the domain. You had to model the knowledge. You had to make assumptions visible. Today with generative AI, the interfaces are more natural and the output is more powerful, but the old lessons still apply. Good architecture matters. Trusted data matters. Documentation matters. Testing matters, as well as governance. The ability to explain how a system is being used still matters. That episode was important because too many people talk about AI as though it began with ChatGPT. It did not. Generative AI is a part of a much larger AI ecosystem where we understand the history, we make smarter decisions about the future. Then we brought in our first guest, a good friend of mine, Dr. Andy Green, to talk about AI and the future of work.
Honestly, I think all industries are affected because that's already been in place for quite some time. But I do believe that our top industries are health, education, and environmental. I think those probably would need to benefit more from it. Certainly because I think our education system is not really aligned with the current dynamics of a digital transformation era. And also, I feel as though our health systems, there's so much information there that could collectively come together and give better insights into medical results and stuff like that. So I do believe that it will greatly improve those particular fields, but I think every industry right now is all affected by it.
That conversation made something very clear. AI is not just a technology issue, it is a workforce issue, an education issue, a management issue, and a human development issue. Dr. Green emphasized that we needed systems thinking. We need engineering thinking. We need an analyst. We need auditors. We need trainers and coaches. We need people who understand the work well enough to know when AI output is useful and when it's wrong. One of the most important takeaways from that episode was this: the future of work should be built around augmentation over replacement. AI may automate tasks, but people still need to understand the process, the context, the values, and the outcomes. That is where subject matter expertise becomes even more valuable. In an AI-enabled workplace, the person who understands the work deeply can guide, validate, correct, and improve what AI produces. Moving into episode 5 about AI strategy, we take that future work discussion and move into the AI strategy. Here's the blunt truth. AI without strategy creates confusion. It can create duplicate tools, poor data practices, unmanaged risks, shadow AI, bias, compliance problems, wasted money, and false confidence. A strong AI strategy answers basic but powerful questions. Why are we using AI? Where does it create measurable value? What problems are we solving? What data is required? Who owns the process? How will we govern the system? How will we measure outcomes? What values guide the work? In that episode, I framed AI strategy around 4 practical pillars: purpose and alignment, people and skills, data and infrastructure, and ethics and governance. Strategy is not a one-time document that sits on the shelf. It is a living roadmap. As the technology changes, the strategy must evolve. As regulation, risk, and shareholder expectations change, the strategy also must evolve. That is why responsible AI is not separate from AI strategy. Responsible AI is a strategy in action. Now, episode 6 brought us back to the tools people are using every day. ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Microsoft Copilot, and other large language model tools. The key message was simple. These tools can write, summarize, analyze, brainstorm, and support decision-making, but they do not think the way people think. They calculate patterns. They generate probable responses. The value comes from how we guide them and how we verify them. That is why prompting matters. A weak prompt creates weak output. A vague prompt creates vague output. A strong prompt gives the model intent, context, constraints, examples, and clear outcomes. But prompting is only part of the discipline. You still need to iterate. You still need to test. You still need to verify. You still need subject matter expertise. You still need to know when the tool is helping and when it's simply producing something that sounds right. The practical lesson was define your goal, provide context, refine the response, and verify the output. That is how AI moves from novelty to real insight. Episode 7, we brought in Dr. David Zareski from Northwestern University. And this 2-part conversation on AI in education also included critical thinking, intellectual curiosity, agents, and the future role of human orchestration.
There's 2 things you need to succeed in this world today. One is critical thinking. The other is you have to be intellectually curious. If you are not willing to step out of your comfort zone and see what else is out there and explore, and you're going to fall behind very quickly, right? This past week or so, there's been this huge thing all over the internet on this tool called Claude. If you come across this.
Yeah.
So basically, people are running these on their Mac Minis, right? You just install the Claude, and you give them access to all the APIs and stuff, and it can start running your company for you. Set all these different skills and stuff. It can learn and start running, and people are deploying this to run their businesses, all these different agents and stuff to optimize. So, it just shows you how quickly things progress, and you're gonna have a lot more tools like that become, this is at home and stuff, but you'll have enterprise versions of this where you can run agents, the simple things like, do posts for me on LinkedIn, or create some content for me for YouTube and stuff, and push that out. Save you a lot of time and help you gain traction and stuff. But if without those critical thinking skills, without the being intellectually curious, you're not going to be able to run the company.
That discussion hit a critical point. If students, professionals, or organizations treat AI as the first source of truth, they weaken the very skills needed to use AI well. AI should support learning, not replace thinking. It can help with research, outlining, coding, content creation, and exploration. But if it becomes a substitute for intellectual effort, then we are creating dependency instead of capability. In part 2 of our conversation, we talked about AI agents and the need for orchestration. Agents can be powerful. They can execute tasks, connect tools, automate workflows, and scale productivity. But without direction, they may simply operate without purpose or produce activity without progress. The human is the orchestration layer. Humans understand lived experiences. Humans understand which problems matter. Humans understand values, context, ethics, and consequences. AI may help generate options, but people still need to decide what should be done and why. This is a message educators and business leaders both need to hear. The future belongs to people who remain curious, critical, and capable of directing intelligent systems toward meaningful outcomes. Our next 2 episodes, we talked about fractional executives, transparency, and executive judgment. So we brought in a good friend of mine, Chris Bosco, in this 2-part conversation on fractional executives, AI implementation, transparency, and executive judgment.
It's amazing. When we started this about 3 years ago, the fractional executive term was relatively new in the market, and it understood and matched what we were trying to do. And for us, what it meant was having the ability to provide the type of experience of a 25, 30 plus year individual like yourself that's been in that C-suite or an executive position that really still wants to do. They want to get their hands dirty. They want to get involved in a project, in executing and helping an organization in that role. But that doesn't necessarily mean they want to take it as a full-time job again, a titled role, as we would say, right? And commit to that. So the idea was, let's give and match that need and those people to it and look at it that way. Over the past few years, though, I think the fractional executive term has expanded quite greatly.
Right, exactly.
And can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
The fractional executive conversation is timely because many organizations need senior AI technology, security, data governance, and transformation leadership, but they may not need that leader full-time or may not be able to wait 6 to 12 months to hire one. A fractional executive can come in with experience, move quickly, define the approach, build the processes, guide the team, and help the organization get over a critical hump. That is especially invaluable in AI because the space is moving fast and mistakes can be expensive. The second part of the conversation may be a stronger AI lesson: transparency, testing, and data discipline.
Every third party is pumping in AI, right? They're grabbing Claude, they're just throwing it in the background and saying, we have AI, right? And one of the major things I say to them is, great, show me transparency as to what is the algorithm, how are you calculating that? Because at the end, you're presenting it as a fact to my individuals, my employees. You're presenting it as in that's your answer. Well, I need to know how you derived that answer so I know, is it our answer? Is it the right answer that we need? But if I don't know how you got there, it's a answer, right? But too often, right, these companies are putting it in, establishing it, not giving you that transparency. My favorite answer, by the way, the last company I evaluated, they looked at me blankly and said, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, that's the problem.
Yeah, when
You don't know what I mean is I need to know how you got from A to Z in this process flow with what data and why you did that, because otherwise, how do I know that just because you say that that's the end answer, that it is, right?
Exactly. If an AI tool gives you an answer that you need to know, you want to understand how it got there, what data was used, what assumptions were made, what process or processes generated the result. Can the outcome be explained? Can it be tested? Can it be trusted? This is where executive judgment matters. Speed is not the only metric. Getting something into the market quickly may feel good, but if the output is wrong, biased, unexplainable, or misaligned with business goals, speed can sink the organization. Season 1 ended exactly where it needed to, with leadership, accountability, and a reminder that AI success requires experienced humans who know how to connect strategy with execution. So the 5 big lessons from Season 1. When I step back and look at the full season, 5 lessons kind of jump out at me. First, AI literacy is now a leadership skill. It's not only for data scientists and technologists. Executives, educators, managers, analysts, students, and everyday professionals need to understand what these tools are doing and how to use them responsibly. Second, knowledge still matters. AI does not eliminate the need for knowledge management, information architecture, taxonomy, ontology, data governance, and content quality. It makes those disciplines more important. Third, human judgment is the control point. Whether we are talking about generative AI, AI agents, education, future work, or executive leadership, the human role is not disappearing. It is changing and it is evolving. We move from doing every task manually or directing, validating, governing, and improving intelligence systems. Fourth, strategy and governance must come before scaling. If you scale AI without purpose, controls, accountability, and measurement, you scale risk, you scale confusion, you scale bad decisions. 5. Responsible AI is practical. It is not just a philosophy. It shows up in data quality, testing, transparency, explainability, auditability, procurement, and training. Also in monitoring and accountability. That's what Season 1 has been about. AI is powerful, but power without purpose is not enough. So where do we go from here? Season 2 will go deeper into the practical side of AI adoption and AI leadership. We will ask more about AI governance, AI audits and assessments, AI risk management, AI assurance, agentic AI, AI's impact on the environment, enterprise intelligence, responsible implementation, and how organizations can move from experimentation to operational maturity. We will continue to bring in guests who understand the technology, the business impact, the human side, and the governance responsibilities. And we will also continue to ask the hard questions, because the future of AI is not just about what the technology can generate. It is about what people choose to build, what organizations choose to value, and how we make sure these systems remain aligned with human purpose. To everyone who listened to Season 1, I'd like to thank you very much. Thank you for being curious. Thank you for thinking critically. Thank you for being part of this conversation. If this season helped you better understand AI, share it with someone. Share this podcast with someone who needs clarity. If an episode challenged you or challenged your thinking, keep that conversation going with your team, your classroom, your leadership group, or your professional network. You can always reach out and connect with me through my email at tonyr@ajrem.com. My blog, Knowledge Management Depot, you can find that easily in search. And you can follow my writing and work on AI, knowledge management, governance, and responsible AI leadership on LinkedIn, Instagram, and of course on Jaro Go. We will be coming back with Season 2. Until then, keep asking the hard questions. Stay curious, stay critical, stay strategic. And remember, technology is only as smart as the people, purpose, and principles behind it.